All right. We are live, yo. What's up, everybody? Welcome to another session of the Golf Club podcast. I know it's a little bit later in the afternoon, but bear with me. Thank you so much for all the supporters out there. But we have a great show for you guys planned for tonight. As always, you guys already know my name is Will. I'm the host of this show, Top Doggo, number one Polynesian podcast in the world. And we're joined by two lovely guests. We have a great topic to discuss, especially regarding the SF schools here in SF County. So hope you guys are ready. To all the Kava drinkers out there, cheers. All right.
Cheers.
Cheers. All right. It's only me drinking tonight, Phil. Everybody. It's only me drinking tonight. But get your popcorn ready, and let's get this show started, y'all.
What are we arguing about?
A man is gonna do what a man wants to do.
Yes, all on your wrist. Make you my wife, you no longer my bitch.
Let's get it. My name is Will. I'm the host of this show, the number one Polynesian podcast in the world.
Dripping in Versace. All these other hoes trying to copy.
Women tend to bounce around in relationships. They can't stick and stay in a long-term relationship.
Again, don't agree with this. Just
So let's say, are you still in it? Are you still in it?
no. So you're basically saying I'm a whore.
This content is not suitable for the children under the age of 18 without adult supervision. Please be advised.
So I just wanted to take the time and make this video to apologize to absolutely nobody.
Love all the freaky things you do. My love was way overdue. That's when you came out the blue.
Welcome back, everybody. All right. Welcome back to the Golf God podcast. As always, thank you so much for everybody that's tuning in. Everybody, we have a great show planned for tonight. We have some great, lovely guests. We have a topic to discuss. As always, to all my supporters out there, people support my channel, thank you so much for all your love of support. You guys already know what to do. Smash that like button. All right. So smash that like button and don't forget to subscribe. And of course, this is a public show as always. If you guys watch my podcast and my live streams, you guys know you guys are always invited to participate. I will post the public link on the YouTube live chat. So if you're watching this from Facebook, if you're watching this from Twitch and Twitter, you definitely have to come to YouTube and you guys be able to participate. So we have some great guests. We have a specific topic, a very specific topic that we're going to just focus the podcast on for tonight. And we got some people that have a lot of work in that industry and that experience and that has know all the statistics and data. You guys all know I'm a big statistic person. So whenever somebody has statistics, I'm excited. I'm excited, right? Facts over feelings, everybody.
Mm-hmm.
But we have a great topic to discuss tonight. And of course, I will post that link. So if you guys have any questions, you guys want to jump in and participate with us in the discussion, click on that link. Don't forget to join my locals account. I will post my logos at the end of the live stream so you guys can join it. The locals, you guys, if you participate, become a supporting member, you guys be able to have exclusive content that only will be posted there. And also you guys have access to me, a 1 hour phone call per month. And of course, you always have access to my Discord chat group. You guys have access to text me at any given time. And of course, you guys will be able to join in and be part of the panel on the Friday and Saturday shows. And of course, you guys can join us virtually after when we're done with the live stream. You can talk to us after and be part of the panel as well. So we have a lot of great perks on the locals. So that's the best way to support me if you truly support my content and want to help me constantly improve my content. And of course, be able to invite some big names and big guests for you guys. Definitely join my locals. But nevertheless, without further ado, let's get the show started. As always, to my guests, thank you so much for taking the time and be part of the pod for tonight. But I'll let you guys introduce yourselves for everybody out there. I'll let our newest guest introduce herself first. And Cheryl, go ahead and introduce yourself for everybody out there that's watching this right now.
Well, hi. Thank you. I feel so privileged to be here. My name is Cheryl Thornton, and I am currently a resident of District 10, Bayview Hunters Point, Latrell Hill. I work for the San Francisco Health Department, and by working there, I've learned a lot about vital statistics, which led me into my activism. I see that in San Francisco, working in the Department of Public Health, a lot of Black and Brown communities have been marginalized here in San Francisco due to the structural racism. And we see it play out systemically on populations. And so that's a little bit about myself. I decided to get into this work because our youth, they need the same opportunities that the dominant culture has. They need those same opportunities. They can make it if we provide them with equal opportunity.
Okay. All right, Cheryl. Thank you so much. Excited, and a big shout out to Cheryl. Thank you, Cheryl, for making the time to be part of this discussion. And as always, you guys already know a familiar guest, always part of my show. Monica, go ahead and give yourself a quick intro for everybody out there.
Hey y'all, back again. This is Cheryl Thornton, and Cheryl, thank you so much for being a part of this podcast. This is definitely a community leader in San Francisco, and we just want to wish you the best in everything that you do for the city of San Francisco, but also just we have some questions, and I think that you can answer them. And we are excited. We are just, thank you. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
All right, no worries. As always, you guys know, appreciate you guys for watching for tonight. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And let's get that live chat popping. You guys are pretty quiet for tonight. I know this is probably not the sexiest topic that we discuss, but this is a much important topic. All right, these are things that's gonna definitely happen into our schools, especially affecting our young kids, the Pacific Islander kids. So let's get the live chat popping. Say hi if you follow the show, if you love the content, if you like the discussions we have. Just say hi in the live chat and let me know what you guys think. But I'll pass it. Let me pass it to you, Monica, to take over the discussion and focus, because the topic for tonight is the shutdown of schools that are detrimental to the Pacific Islanders and Blacks in SF County. Okay, but I'll let you, Monica, take it away.
Okay, great. So Cheryl,
Yes.
I want to know what is going on with the schools in San Francisco. Like, what's happening? I've heard so many weird things that's going on. I've heard that a lot of the districts in San Francisco right now, schools, I'm not really sure which schools, but what schools are closing down and why? I need to know this.
Okay. So Matt Wayne, who is the superintendent of San Francisco, recently announced that, the San Francisco Unified School District, for people that don't know, the budget is $1.1 billion. And so many, due to the high rents in San Francisco, the gentrification, lots of families have moved out of San Francisco. And so some of the schools in District 10 have become under-enrolled. And they became under, first of all, District 10 is in the southeast section of San Francisco. It's Potrero Hill, Baby Hunters Point, Sunnydale, Visitation Valley. And that district has the most children per capita than any other district in San Francisco. However, the schools in District 10 are under enrolled because San Francisco, for many generations now, at least 3 generations now, it's been residentially segregated, meaning that most of the Black and brown people live in District 10. And so with that being said, our schools for many years have been under-resourced. They've had really poor outcomes. And so the parents don't want to send their kids there because they want to get them a better education so that they will have a future. You know, they'll be able to go to college and post-secondary education. They'll have access to it. And so, and they also want them to escape the violence of the neighborhood. Many of the kids, because they live in poverty, they have what they call ACEs, trauma. And that trauma leads into, you know, people becoming mentally ill, acting out, dropping out of school, and so forth. So the schools, for that reason, have become under served. Now, one thing I want to bring up that's very interesting about this is there's been a lot of gentrification happening in District 10. And so lots of people of European descent or maybe Asian descent, meaning like maybe Chinese American, are moving into District 10. But yet, when you look at the who's enrolled in the schools, they're not there in District 10. They're taking their kids across town to the west side to the better schools.
Okay. And can I ask a question about that? Okay, so as a minoritized person and also will as well, like what does that mean for us when that happens? I think a lot of folks are just not really understanding the works of politics and education. And so essentially, I just want to ask that just to verify for any of the viewers here about what that actually means, like gentrification.
Well, before I answer that, I want to say the average income of a person living in District 10 is around $29,900.
These are facts.
Oh,
And many of the families are on SSI. Many of the families were born and raised in San Francisco, but due to the poor education, a lot of them have dropped out of school, so they've been locked out of society, more so mainstream. Because you can't really get a job without having a GED or a high school diploma.
Right.
So, closing the schools in District 10, what that looks like is kids who have already been marginalized. Their parents are some of the poorest residents in San Francisco. They may not have a vehicle. And so it puts the kids on the public bus to go to school.
Right.
And they would have to go to school way across town oftentimes. And so, a lot of our kids, we have already high absenteeism in the schools already. And so sending kids across town, it might exacerbate that situation. And so, and also, how do you build better and stronger communities when you're sending the kids out of the community?
Right. And so I did want to ask about that. So the communities that are being, targeted right now. So in a sense, what schools are being shut down and in what districts?
So this past Monday, there was a school board meeting concerning this topic, and it has not been decided which ones, but what we heard was that 25 to 30 schools will be closing down. Now, the interesting thing about these schools are closing down, we're thinking that because they've done an audit and many of the schools in District 10 are under enrolled, that basically they're going to shut those schools down. And the superintendent is going to be allowed through this process to dispose of the property, meaning the schools, how he sees fit.
wow.
And so they're talking about building affordable housing on those school sites. Now, with that being said, when you look at who's getting in affordable housing it's not so much black and brown because some of the AMIs for affordable housing are very high. And keep in mind that the average,
if you don't mind, what's an AMI?
well, it's the average. I need to look it up.
Median
Yes.
income.
Oh, okay.
Medium income
Yeah, okay.
of the area. And so as you bring in, so imagine an affordable housing. Let's say we have a building that's 100% affordable housing, but most of the AMIs in that building are above 50%.
Mm.
It's above the income levels that are currently there, like at 29,000.
Mm.
So when you bring people in with incomes of 130, 140,000, it begins to raise the rents in the area.
Yeah.
And so the people that are living there are pushed out again.
Yeah.
One thing I believe is that the real estate industry is
Right.
behind a lot of these school closures.
Right.
They have been wanting to develop the southeast section of San Francisco because you guys heard that we have to build so much housing here in the next 10 years.
Mm.
And on the west side, meaning, do you guys know where the west side is?
Now, which one is the west side?
Like Sunset.
Okay, Sunset. Okay.
If you think of Pacific Heights,
Okay.
District 1, District 2, 3, 4, maybe 6 and 8. That's on the west side. And there's been very little affordable housing built over there. And so the population is stable. So there hasn't been much gentrification over there. There's rent control on the buildings. Any building apartment building that's more than 4 units that was built before 1979 has rent control on it. But when you come over to District 10, there's not a lot of apartment buildings. There's most of the public housing is there. And so if you notice, a lot of that has been torn down. And now they want to take the schools, close them, and build more affordable housing, which is just going to accelerate the gentrification in the area. And so it's more than just closing down the schools. It's about changing who lives in the neighborhood.
And Cheryl, can I just ask for our viewers out here or anybody that will view later, I want to know in what districts, can we just say the name of those particular cities within San Francisco County this will happen in, with the schools being, 25 schools?
That's a lot of schools.
That's a lot of schools, y'all. That's a lot of schools.
25, 30.
Come on. This is a big deal. This is a big deal.
So currently in District 10, we do not have a high school.
Right.
And we have one middle school. We have the highest number of underperforming schools in the city. And so what I did here is yesterday, they were thinking in District 10, they were going to close Bret Hart, Charles Drew, and there was one more, Bret Hart, Charles Drew, and I the other one escapes me right now. Oh, Malcolm X. Malcolm X in Hunters Point.
And really?
Yeah.
And okay, in your own opinion, why do you think Malcolm X?
Well, because Malcolm X, the facility, there's been a lot of neglect that has gone on in these underserved communities. So the school facilities, they need a lot of repair.
Yes.
And so I've often wondered, San Francisco being as wealthy as it is and technologically, this technological city, it's shocking when you go into these schools and see the condition of the schools.
Yeah.
It actually doesn't even feel like a warm and conducive learning environment. So anyway, with that being said, Malcolm X is one of those schools that has been neglected for a long time. So currently there's only 100 students in that school, and I believe it has capacity for 400. It's underserved.
Yeah.
Mm.
But the children that live there, that do attend that school, their parents, again, are some of the poorest residents in San Francisco, and they don't have the means to take their kids and get them across town to a school over there. So they're going to be harmed.
So that was a question I wanted to ask you. So what is the city's plan if they're going to shut down these schools? Obviously, there's still kids that go to those schools. Like, what's their plan to? And obviously, you mentioned that most of them are making about $29,000 a month. A year, and they can't afford to take take their kids outside. So, what's the city's plan to help those kids?
Well, they say that people want neighborhood community schools. So they plan to send them to other school sites right there in District 10. So maybe the kids that are attending Bret Harte, maybe they might go over the hill to Viz Valley. Now, the reason that this is also a problem, there's a lot of gang violence in the neighborhoods. And so kids aren't allowed to move from one neighborhood to the next. And a lot of this gang violence is around historical trauma. And so piling these kids in schools who have all these ACEs and not providing the mental health wellness, I foresee more violence. And then what's going to happen? More kids are not going to come to school because they're not going to feel safe in school. So they're not going to attend school and they're going to drop out.
Yeah.
Right.
And as I said, some people would like to leave San Francisco, but the people that are living in District 10 in public housing, again, they have very few choices. They can't just up and leave like somebody else could say, well, I'm going to, I don't like this area. I'm going to leave and rent an apartment at market rate. They can't rent at market rate.
Right.
And so they're stuck there. So they want to keep their kids safe. Now, I am enrolled in this class for at City College for around Pacific Islander culture. And so we were talking this week, Dr. David Paletta, about there's a lot of tension right now in Sunnydale between Black and brown youth because there's been some killings in the last year or so. And so I was told that a lot of the API that lived there in Viz Valley after the pandemic, their kids never returned back to school. They're just doing online school. The parents prefer to keep them at home to keep them safe because of the violence that is happening on the bus to and from school or at school. They're not being protected at school. They're not in a safe learning environment.
Wow.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot. For anybody that's out there that lives in San Francisco, that is a lot. And I did want to ask about the stats of this. And I think we have the stats that are actually available online for everybody to look over. But we're going to go ahead and put these stats up here about just the education in San Francisco. The
one that you emailed me, right?
Correct. The dropout rates that is current right now in San Francisco. And for anybody that is living here in San Francisco that is a minoritized person or a Pacific Islander, I think that this is a good thing to look at. That's the other one presentation. We'll go through that in a little bit. Yes. All right. Is this the right one?
Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
Okay, let me share it.
So when this is a report. This data came from the Department of Education for the state of California, and it shows the 4-year adjusted cohorts by grades outcome. And let me see if you have to go down. Keep going down. Yeah. Okay. So basically, this breaks it down by race and ethnicity. Cohorts, for instance, we probably have to redo this, but basically, I think you have to go back up and say all schools so you can really see the numbers, how bad they are.
Right.
Click that where it says all schools, school type.
So this is great.
Down
We'll also share the
Down
link
there.
so
yeah,
that
where it says school type,
Oh,
all
school type.
schools. Yeah,
Oh,
right
there.
above.
all
Okay.
schools. We'll also share the link so that anybody that's out there that wants to learn how to navigate the system, to check out resources, to see what's going on, you can. And this is kind of like a guideline of how to see it.
Okay, so cohort. So you see right here, African American students cohort. There were 991 seniors, and out of that 991 seniors, 654 dropped out.
Right.
Oh,
This
wow.
is San Francisco Unified School District.
Can I verify something with you, Cheryl?
Mhm.
When students drop out, are they a part of the statistic when it comes to counties enabling data that projects that students have actually graduated or have been a part of this or that in a specific school county, right? Because it seems to me that the data that's implicated, that's online for us to see, is different from what we're seeing now. And also, is this data from 2021? Is that correct?
Yeah, this is coming from, again, the Department of Education. And this is based on the data that they received from the San Francisco Unified School District. So let's go on down. So Hispanic Latino, 3,943 students, seniors.
Mhm.
And out of the graduation rate, 2,533 did not graduate. More than half.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
The Pacific Islander is there's been a lot of gentrification in Viz Valley where there were a lot of Pacific Islander families,
Mhm.
and they've been they were relocated due to the rebuild of some of the public housing in District 10, and they have not returned. But within that, you see that there were 82 seniors.
Mhm.
And out of the 82, 37 didn't graduate. Now, mind you, this does not even count the number of the kids who have left school that are online because they don't feel safe. They're not in that. You don't see it represented in this number.
Okay.
So the number is actually bigger. And why this is so concerning is if you don't, when you say dropout, it means you didn't get a GED,
Right.
you
Yeah.
didn't get the you didn't take that exit exam for high school, none of that. You just left school with no diploma. Now everyone knows when you look at any job application, even at a fast food,
Yeah.
it says, asks you, do you have a GED or
Yeah.
high school diploma?
Yeah.
So if you don't have that, that means you can't enter into mainstream society to support yourself.
Yeah.
Correct.
Even in the basic level of jobs, right?
Right.
Yes. So what does this do? It forces you into crime.
Yeah.
So then we see what people getting into selling drugs, whatever is under the black market and the underworld. This forces them into that. Next thing you know, it's the pipeline to prison.
Correct. The mass incarceration of Black and brown folks.
And this is not something, some people say, well, you know, we just finished the pandemic. This is just the last 3 years. No, if you go back and start searching and looking at the data, this has been going on in San Francisco for decades. And the reason that it's going on is because San Francisco is residentially segregated, meaning that most of the Black and brown people live in the southeast section of San Francisco. They don't live on the west side.
Yeah.
And the west side is where Lowell High School is, Washington. The better schools are over there on the west side. But the fact is, they don't want our kids to enroll over there, and they don't want our kids to intermingle with their kids because they're afraid that their kids may be harmed by our kids coming in the school and leveling the playing field.
Yeah.
I did want to ask about that. Is there an actual term for that?
Yes.
Is it racialized spacing?
Well, first of all, it's illegal. The Brown versus the Board of Education of 1954, it says you cannot have equal but separate.
Right.
The schools are supposed to be integrated.
Yeah.
And so the reason that integration has been so hard in San Francisco is because, again, we are racially segregated, meaning that most Black and brown people live in District 10 because that's where the public housing was built. And so our kids have poor outcomes. They're not being prepared to take the jobs that are here available in San Francisco. Even, for instance, in the city and county of San Francisco, they do have entry-level jobs that just require you to have a high school diploma. Well, look at these numbers. You see these people that dropped out, they cannot get basic jobs.
Yeah.
Where will they go?
To the streets.
Correct.
And what do you think
Correct.
we see happening right now? The streets.
Right. I think that this is such an important conversation for all communities that are under the minoritized umbrella, right? Because for a long time, and for most of us that are newly minoritized folks out here, we believe that this is something we can control. And looking at these numbers, listening to Cheryl Thornton, who's been an activist of San Francisco County for a very long and wonderful time. I mean, honestly, Cheryl, like, not many people are dedicated to their city the way you are. We have to really recognize that we are not in control for the most part, you know. And I think I've said this before. A lot of things can be disapproved and approved, but numbers never lie.
Yeah.
Well, I want to bring up another point. City College of San Francisco, the one that was located in the Bayview district at 1800 Oakdale, it's been closed down. And they do have the Evans Street campus, but currently the only thing that's being offered there is auto mechanics and aircraft mechanics. And the problem with there's no academic classes there anymore. There's not even an adult school there for people to access to get a GED or take academic classes like English, math, whatever. And so we have to leave the district once again. And if you're on the bus, you may have to take 2 or 3 buses just to get to City College. Now, why was the college in the Bayview closed down when you have the most marginalized community there with the worst educational outcomes? The educational outcomes for brown and Black youth in San Francisco are far worse than what they are for the entire state of California. Yet, we are one of the most wealthiest cities.
Yeah.
Right.
We are the most technological city. So, why is that happening? It's happening because even though they say San Francisco is a liberal city, it's actually one of the most racist cities here in the United States. And we can see that through the data.
Through our kids. Is that what I'm I'm seeing that through our children that we're putting in schools that most of our families have lived in this particular city, not including myself. I am not from San Francisco, but from looking at this data, it looks like those who live in the city, this is actually what is happening to the children that you are working hard for.
Wow.
So, earlier somebody mentioned white supremacy,
Yes.
and it's very much in play here. Here in what we're seeing with these outcomes. Basically, they are saying that Black and brown youth don't matter. Black and brown youth, they're inferior to the majority white. And when I say Asian, I mean, yes, there is the API community, but usually the PI is the one that's left behind.
Yeah.
And we're looking at this through a lens of intersectionality. And can we elaborate on what intersectionality means?
What do you mean?
What does intersectionality mean to you?
I need more. But I'm not sure what you're trying to get at.
Basically, you have said, like, with Asian Pacific Islanders, obviously we considered, Will and I are considered Native Pacific Islanders within the US, a part of AAPI, which is crazy because in a certain sense we've also have desegregated ourselves in 2001, but we also haven't, because that's how long our system takes to actually navigate our entire society to understand that, right? Even when it comes to progressing in certain like grant funding to help our community in the different disparities that we actually have. And so when I say intersectionality, I mean, because as Native Hawaiian and Pacific Islanders, a part of AAPI, which is Asian and Pacific Islanders, how are we different when it comes to disparities?
Wow. So let me choose my words carefully here.
It's okay because
So I have often been, I just have often times when I hear API, especially after the pandemic and what happened with the Asian hate. I feel like what I've witnessed and seen is Pacific Islanders, they've been made invisible in this whole process. They say API, and I feel like that's just a way to increase their numbers. When I say they, I mean the Asian community, to make their numbers look bigger. But actually, Pacific Islanders,
something is we believe we are invisible.
Well, you are.
We believe we are.
I feel you are because I feel that
Right.
that if you're API, when they say Asian, they mean Chinese, Japanese, more people of those descents, and they don't mean people who are of Pacific Islanders descent. And I actually always often thought that maybe the two groups should be. I don't know why they were joined together as Asian Pacific Islanders, because there's so many Asians in that have come to that part of the world. Because the reality of it is if you look at, I believe, Micronesians, like the original Hawaiians, those were Black people like myself. And so but that's not ever. So I think because of the history and the root of where a lot of people that are Pacific Islander descent come from, they are not, they're kind of marginalized within the group.
Right.
And so, but the way it does play out in the hierarchy of race, people are trying to assimilate. And so assimilation means the closer you are to white, the more right you are, and the further you are, it's harder to assimilate. And I just, me, myself, I've always wondered about that because it just seems like people that are Pacific Islander, their voice is being silenced through this API.
Can I honestly tell you, Cheryl, in the last couple of podcasts, I'm looking at y'all, that I've been on here with Will and with other island folks here, when asked about oppression, nobody wanted to talk about it. Everybody wanted to say that we didn't belong in it, right? And it just goes to show that even to somebody that's been a activist, a community leader in San Francisco, even they notice that our voices are not heard. And why are they not heard? If there's anything that's individually accountable for us to say, it's because we are unable to admit to things that we are uncomfortable with admitting to, right?
Yeah.
And with the point of being unheard is because if we don't speak up, if we don't verify what's going on, if we are not okay with being vulnerable, if we're not okay with looking at our surroundings and being observational people of our atmosphere instead of being, or environment, instead of being judgmental about it through a religious or cultural aspect, then we are not okay with looking at the facts.
Hey, Cheryl, have you been able to talk directly to the Pacific Islander parents in that district and just get their feedback?
Yeah, so during redistricting, which is another topic, we're not going to go into, but I had the chance to work with in District 10 different communities that live within the community of District 10.
Yeah.
And I kind of really was saddened by what I learned and saw, like going to Visitation Valley, the level of disenfranchisement that I saw, the lack of access to medical and dental care, the lack of access to mental health services, the lack of access to livable housing, decent livable housing. People, I was just blown away. The lack of access to employment. I saw a lot of poverty within the Pacific Islander population here in San Francisco. And the reason that is because of the structural racism and the disenfranchisement that's happening here in San Francisco. Many, Samoan and Pacific Islander families, they want more for their children, but they don't have a voice and a vehicle to achieve that because they're being silenced. Like you say, I'm Asian Pacific Islander,
Right.
but when you say Asian and I look at Monica,
Come on, y'all.
Yeah.
Stop playing.
they look at her hair, they look at her features,
Yeah.
and that they even look at your body size,
Yeah.
Right.
and that doesn't fit those norms, and so you're ostracized.
Yeah.
Right.
And so that's why they've been locked out. And there's a lot of lack of, like I said, there's a lack of access to education, a lack of access to healthy food. You should see the health disparities that are not even really being talked about here in San Francisco. I know like for a Black African American person that lives in District 10, their life expectancy is 12 to 15 years less than any other person in San Francisco, meaning probably the dominant population white. But I'm willing to bet you if we pull that data up for PI community, it's just as bad. because there's diabetes, there's hypertension,
Yeah.
there's we live in these food deserts. The same thing that is plaguing the Black community is actually plaguing the Pacific Islander community, because we are living under this oppression of racial segregation here in San Francisco, and that's what we have to stop. We have to break this up. We have to all join hands, arms, link together, and fight back, instead of trying to just assimilate and say, okay, I look like I'm lighter than you, so that means I'm closer to white. That's not working. The hierarchy of race, you're still at the bottom. It's not working.
It never has.
And
Yeah.
so
It never
what we have
has.
to do is Black and brown people have to join together and fight this oppression, because we are actually the majority. We're not the minority. But because they keep us all separated, this is what is happening. And so that's the thing. And we have to, but the only way that we're going to change that is to educate our young about our culture, how much more we are alike than different.
Mhm.
We also have to educate, like I was looking in what happened in Maui, and they were saying how the cultural what's the place called?
Lahaina.
Lahaina.
Yeah.
How all that history is been lost.
Yeah.
But the true Hawaiians were pushed out. You don't even see them anymore. Their land was taken.
Yeah.
I don't even
And-
know if I've ever seen one, to be quite honest.
Their land was
Yeah.
taken, and then the assimilation happened, and they were just pushed out somewhere. And so, but like I said, we have to join together, and if we all join together, we can fight back. We can fight this oppression, and we can let them know we are more alike. We're stronger together than separate, and we have to do that, because if we don't, we're going to continue to fight one another. We're going to continue to be marginalized, and we're not going to make it.
Right. I mean, I actually, and I hope all of y'all out there agree with these statements that have been made right now, because to be very honest, this is actually true facts. And it's very hard for people, I think, out here, and especially in our community, to just navigate to the realization that we are not in control, that we can be in control. But in order to be in control, it's to be conscious of what is happening now. We are unconscious of what's happening now because it makes us feel better, to feel like it's okay. You know, we can, if we believe we can do something, we can do it. Well, the truth is I need to stop saying the truth, because the truth is there's no actual truth. There's just observations. Sorry about that. I need to stop actually saying the truth is. Like, I actually talked to somebody I knew, and I'm going to stop saying that from here on out. But it is so detrimental for us to really see these numbers and to really be advocates for our children out here, because they are the future, and it is the truth.
Yeah, I had a question. I didn't know about this until I talked to Monica, and I've been living here in San Francisco for a while. But why do you think hasn't been a lot of coverage, especially in the news or the media, or to let people know in San Francisco this is what's happening in District 10? Because I didn't know this was going on at all until Monica brought it to my attention.
Because it's poor Black and brown people. They don't care.
Yeah.
We don't matter.
Yeah.
Right. This is why I really emphasize on positionality. One of the reasons, not even all the reasons of what I know within the Bay Area, not even everything that I know specifically within the United States or within California, within our community, right? And yes, I am talking about Polynesian folks, but I also am outreaching to folks that are minoritized, right? Because minoritized means you're a minority community that's out here, that didn't come out here with money, and you are struggling. And that's what I mean.
I'm just trying to post the public link so people want to jump on. Also, I had another question as well. So, obviously, the people who are at the top of the people that we elect in office are probably not putting their best efforts to figure out this to fix this problem. Do you think it's a matter of us getting together and making sure that we vote the right people in the positions of power, so that way people that's actually going to come through and help us out?
So District 10 has some of the lowest voter turnout.
Okay.
And the reason that is because of literacy levels.
Yes.
The average literacy level in District 10 is 4th grade.
Oh, wow.
It's major.
So
Right.
they're not reading what's going on. And a lot of people in the community vote identity politics, meaning they
Yes.
identify with somebody the way that they look.
Yes.
We have to look at people's voting records, what platform they're sitting on, what they really represent. And when they're not representing us, we should not be putting them in office. Period. The end. We need to get out there and vote because that's our voice. We're not holding the powers that be accountable.
Yes.
We continue to let this happen when there is a police killing. Like there was really just recently a killing in the Bayview. I'm sure many people saw it. The police shot that young man who was suffering from mental illness. And there was a community meeting that was not really advertised very well with the police. And there wasn't a really enough questions and answers in that session. We needed more people. That's what I mean about the disenfranchisement that's happening. The police come into the community, and there's a lot of police brutality that's going on. There's a lot of there's just a lot of distrust and through the disinvestment in the communities. And so community policing oftentimes looks like community brutality, police brutality, I'm sorry.
And I honestly can say this, especially to viewers out there, what I love about Cheryl's output is, Cheryl, your husband, tell these folks what your husband did for a living for how many years?
So my husband is a retired San Francisco police officer.
Mhm.
He was hired under the dissent decree.
Yes.
That is the only time when they hired a lot of Black and brown officers. And so at that time, he was a community officer. He witnessed it. He saw how a lot of the Black and brown youth are treated every day, how they try, some of these police, they harass them. And next thing you know, they have their name and they're in the system. So yeah, my husband was a retired police officer. I'm not saying we don't need police in our society, but I'm also saying that more so we need to spend money on education. We need to spend money on housing. We need to spend money on health care and mental health for our community. And when I say our community, I mean the community of District 10, the people that live there. Because whether you're Native American, whether you're Pacific Islander, or you're Black or Latino, you're facing the same systemic racism, and we have to realize that.
Right. And it's a hard realization. I know that for myself, it was a very weird realization at one point, but it was also something I had to do, right? Because you can really be a person of a minoritized background, not understand that you're oppressed, be really in a mental state where you're not understanding that you are in one, and then not actually be able to succeed in the things that you can succeed in until that is actually recognized.
Yeah, I'm still shocked by those numbers. I'm still thinking about that. That's over 50% of kids not being able to graduate,
Yeah.
Right.
right?
Yeah.
And I'm still shocked by seeing that.
Well, I'm on a quest now. When I realize this, okay, so this stuff becomes generational.
Yeah.
We have to reach back to the parents to get
Yeah.
them to get their GEDs,
Yes.
because that will
Yes.
lift up the children as
Yeah.
well while they're in. And so
Right.
that's what I want to. That's what I'm working on currently, is trying to bring trying to get. There is 5 keys in the Bayview that offers GED, but some of our churches and stuff, our religious leaders, are faith based.
Mm.
They also need to open up those church houses and bring educational ministries into the church where people feel safe, where they feel like they're not going to be ostracized, and help these parents get a GED.
Yes.
Help them to be able to enter into mainstream society,
Right.
because right now they're outside. They're just somewhere outside of mainstream.
Right.
Because I work in San Francisco, so sometimes I'll be driving in San Francisco and I'll see kids just walking around, and it's not, and I know it's still school hours, right? And I would sometimes I'll think to myself, like, did they get off early from school?
Mm.
But now I'm listening to see if that's that. I was like, oh, these
Right.
kids just don't want to go to school, or
Just walking around.
yeah,
Well, they've been told the message has been sent, school's not for you.
yeah.
And then when you go home, if your parents were told that same thing
Yeah.
and they never graduated from high school, doesn't that become a norm?
Yeah.
And so, I'm just repeating what happened.
Yeah.
And so this is all there's going to be for me. This is how it's supposed to be. This is now my culture.
Yeah.
And that's not your culture. It's not. That's what we see as structural racism.
Right.
And we have to. So my quest is to get as many parents who were failed by the system, no matter how old they are, grandparents, parents, to get their GED so they can show their kids education is the key.
Yes. Right.
To changing your life.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things I know that our community wants, right? Because our community wants us to be doctors. They want us to do this. They want us to do that because, it's a competition rate, right? And because we're placed in this whole AAPI aspect, and people, it's an unconscious barrier that we are not understanding, right? Because we are actually put into this category as AAPI. Well, when we talk to our friends, when we associate with society, right, as South Pacific Islanders, right, as Polynesians, yes, I'm going to say Polynesians, right? When we associate with Polynesians and we associate with other people, right, people, because we are in this category of AAPI, well, what is AAPI, right? We have to understand that because we've actually been in the US and even globally in some senses, right? Because it's a capitalist country. You come to this country, you get a master's, it's everything, right? And so that's what people even in other countries do. Even in China, you come out here from China to get a master's and a PhD. Because when you go back home, it means that much more. That much more. You guys may understand that, may not. But if you don't believe me, please Google it, because Google has everything. And so, no, I'm telling you. And so essentially what has happened here is as Polynesian, as South Pacific Islanders, because we have been in that category of AAPI, we've identified ourselves as Asian Pacific Islanders. And therefore, we've identified ourselves as people that can be out of the trench. But the truth is most people that are from Asian Pacific Islander backgrounds come here with money, come here with parents that have a business, and that's what it is. For the rest of us, it is not this way, right? And so I really urge anybody out there who understands this, believes in this, go through the stats, do your research, and understand that intersectionality plays a big part. It does. Yeah. And even if, and I know we were at some point, but for some reason we aren't, because our government, even ourselves, so recognize us as being a part of AAPI. And not to say that they aren't dealing with what they're dealing with, because as people, we should all love each other and have mutual respect. But at the end of the day, we also have to see where we are at. This is why I have been saying from the first day I got to this actual podcast, which is weeks ago, is our lack of positionality is detrimental to our health.
So post-pandemic, AI is really, artificial intelligence is really on the horizon. It's being embedded into everything that we do. Yeah. And too many communities are being left behind through the lack of education. And it's incumbent on us, really, as community people, to ask yourself, if not me, who? If not now, when? What I'm saying is we all can play a role here, and we can empower our community. You can empower your community by just going back to school and getting your GED. You can empower your community by organizing some kids in the neighborhood and taking them to the library.
Right.
And showing them the way. You can empower your community about talking about it's 2024. It's going to be the presidential election. It's going to be the mayor's race. There's lots of important things that are going to come on the ballot. Schools are going to be closing. In District 10, we only have 2 banks right now. So we all can do something. We can't wait for somebody else to do it. Right. If our church leaders, if our faith-based leaders are not doing it and they're holding us back, hold them accountable. Organize in your community, and fight back by saying, we're not accepting this anymore. Right. We need you to do something. We need better schools. We need access to education. We need access to healthy food. Right. We are tired of living like this, and we don't have to live like this. So, like I said, if not you, who? If not now, when? Ask yourself that, and then do something. You can find something that you can do to better the community.
I just want to add on to something that Joe said on the comments. There's a difference between school and education. So for a lot of the kids, they may not be attending school because you guys brought it up. It may not be safe. Maybe they don't have the resources. So I think, for my personal opinion, the most important thing is just educate yourself. So even if you don't get a GED for some reason because of everything that you guys just explained, but at least for the kids, or at least for the parents, push their kids to educate themselves to go to learn some kind of skill, like a trade school.
Right.
Yes.
So at least learn something, a skill that you can make sure you can make money off.
Yes.
So even though they don't graduate, but at least push to educate yourself to learn a skill, so that way you can get a job. And there are a lot of trade schools out there. I know for some people, because I have certain friends school is not for everybody. All
Right.
right. But they
Right.
went, instead of going to school, they went to a trade school and they learned because, they realized what they were
Mhm.
really good at, what they're talented at.
Correct.
And they learned a specific trade and they're able to get a job. And there's a lot of companies, if you have a specific trade certificate,
Right.
yeah, right, and you have experience in that skill, they'll hire you, right?
had
And you
that
still make
conversation.
money.
Right, Cheryl? We had
Dual
this
pathways.
conversation. Dual pathways.
Yeah.
Dual pathways is a pathway for anybody and anybody that just has understood that that's not where their position is.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think that that's great.
Yeah.
I'm not against it, but that also takes mentorship.
Yeah.
This is the reason why we push for school, because school should actually, if we invest in the education, then
Yeah.
mentorship also could be another avenue outside of high
Yeah.
school,
Yeah.
outside of, whatever is needed. Right.
But even on top of mentorship, kids need real internships, real
Yeah.
insight
Yes.
into careers.
Yeah.
White European descent children, they are able to get access to different career pathways through their
Right.
parents.
Right.
Yeah.
Because their parents, doctors, lawyers, whatever, so they take them to the office, they take them here, and they have those experiences, and they're able to get mentors and real internships. And my son currently is in his final year at UC Berkeley. And it wasn't because he was a rocket scientist or anything like that.
Carol, tell them what he's doing. What is his actual? What he's getting his trying to be a lawyer, got his master's.
Yeah,
what's
so
going on?
so my son is in his last year at Berkeley, UC Berkeley Law School.
Yes.
And I'm clear. I was his advocate, but I'm clear that the way that he got there is because he had access to mentors. He had access to
Right.
real internships
Mhm.
where he could explore the that pathway, that career pathway. And so that's why right now we're fighting to get more career pathways at City College,
Correct.
so that we can get more people with real life experience and on the job experience and access to those careers through these internships. Too many times where in our community, like My Eve or Youth Works, those are, good programs, but the internships aren't really real.
Yes.
They don't give the kids these skills that they need to be able to go to pursue these pathways.
Right.
And so I think that's what you're talking about, Will. You're talking about, like, we need to be able to offer them something tangible and real so that they're able to support themselves by going through technical school. School is not for everybody, but it's for more of us than we realize. We've just been told it's not for us.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. Yeah. Especially in our community, in South Pacific Islander community, Polynesian community, a lot of the times they'll tell our boys, go play football if you're in high school.
Yeah.
Get a scholarship. That way you can just go to school and be whatever.
Yeah.
But the girls, they'll say like, get like into nursing or some type of avenue where you get a higher education a little bit, but enough to make money.
Yeah.
Right. And the truth is that's so detrimental. That is a part of oppression. It is. Especially when it's coming from parents that came. I will tell everybody out here, I know for a fact, both of my parents didn't even graduate from high school.
Yeah.
And I'm fortunate to, I got a higher education and
You broke the cycle.
I did, but I hate talking about it because I know that education is so systematic. It's so, especially in my community,
Yeah, I mean, my thought process for the trade schools, even though I do believe in education and kids seeking higher education, but at least there's an alternative, right? If say just in case if for some reason, depending, especially if the kids are living in District 10 and they can't attend schools, or there's a lot of violence and can't go, but at least there's an alternative to know, hey, maybe go try a trade school, or maybe there's a lot of kids out there that I know that they just want to start working because depending on their financial situation of their family, they need immediately help, and at least if they can get some kind of skill that for a fact that they can get a better job and get a better starting pay instead of applying at McDonald's or like a low industry job.
Right.
With the trade school, you can actually start off with a decent amount of pay, especially in their financial situation, and they can start making good money because they have a specific skill with a trade school.
And that's why we need to demand in District 10 that they open City College back up
Yeah,
and put those pathways there
yeah,
so that people can get into these trades. Now, that's an important point that
Yeah.
you bring up.
Yeah.
I am a labor leader.
yeah,
I'm part of SCIU 10 to 1. But I notice in our trade unions,
yeah,
when you look at the demographics of the unions and the trades, Black and brown people have been locked out of those trades.
yeah,
Right.
And so you're right. Those trades have been reserved for the dominant population.
Electricians.
Electricians,
Yeah.
plumbers. We
Yeah.
need those
yeah,
people.
yeah,
And so those are jobs that you can learn. You can get those trades and make a really good living.
yeah. They make good living. Yeah,
But yet we don't have those pathways.
Yeah.
I wanted to bring up an example, how they create these pipelines and pathways for police officers.
Right.
They go over, as early as maybe middle school to the Catholic schools, SI, Sacred Heart, and they're there creating internships through what is it called?
Right. Decoy.
And
Yep,
so they're
like
creating that.
counties.
They're creating that pipeline
Yep.
for to bring in
Kids
The- into law enforcement.
Right.
Yeah.
But a lot of these jobs also too have been handed down because there's a pipeline
Yeah.
with people who are of the dominant culture.
Yeah.
So they create that. Then they say, well, we want to hire some Black and brown officers, but we can't even find any. But what was
What are you doing?
What was our experience? You didn't create these pathways. You didn't create these opportunities early on in middle school, showing role models, working with the kids. And so then they would want to go that way and do that type of, explore that type of employment. And so there's just these pathways are really, really important. When I was in high school or junior high, we had home ec, they had shop class. That's what
Yeah.
you call,
I remember that. Yeah,
Yeah.
and those are pathways.
Yeah.
And a lot of people got into banking. From home ec, they would teach you how to balance your checkbook and stuff. Upon graduation of high school, people went into banking, or they went into auto mechanics. But those pathways just aren't there anymore. And so that's what you're talking about, and that's what we need to bring back to our community.
yeah,
Because drop out. Now what?
yeah, yeah.
Right. And you know what? I wanted to piggyback off of what you just said, Cheryl. Okay, so, and I believe this for Black and brown community members, especially that are men, right? Even in our Polynesian communities, like I said, African American communities, being a police officer, honestly, I honestly just can say this only just from being Polynesian, right, on my own. Our men would be fabulous at it. I don't know. I actually just understand because there's a certain level of just a dedication to community that I know that the men in our community have, right? And it's implemented in different ways within our family structure. But it's just so crazy that a lot of our men in our community are not navigating towards it. Right. And I think exactly what Cheryl was saying, right? That there needs to be pipeline. There needs to be like plugs. There needs to be programs, right? To get them more involved in this type of stuff, because this type of things actually matter, right? If there's one thing I know that our men are capable of doing in the Polynesian community is protecting. We aren't, y'all, I mean, I'll be honest. At this point in right now, it's difficult. That's why I commend Will for creating these podcasts to help men improve, themselves, right? Because once you do, there's so many different avenues that you can do. It is not just football.
Yeah.
It's not just rugby. It's not just using your bodies. Y'all are servers of the community. I know this. And police work is one of the avenues that I know that even being in San Mateo, which is a huge Tongan population, even knowing San Francisco with a huge Samoan population, you got like our men would be perfect at it. Because it's true, to be honest, for anybody out there that is Polynesian or isn't, our men are big, but they are not mean. They're not mean. They're actually really nice.
Sometimes we can be.
Sometimes,
But
but for the most part, they're good people.
But how if I lived in, let's say, Bayview somewhere, and I'm Pacific Islander? Actually, even English is not my first language.
Right.
My native tongue is. I would feel much safer if somebody was able to respond.
Yes.
And come to my household, or if I had an officer that could understand my culture.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And so I think that's why we have to create these pathways. We have to. I just wanted to bring up another point, just so people, as a point of reference. We are standing on the land of Native Americans. And yet here in San Francisco, it's less than 1% Native Americans. Yet 100 years ago here in San Francisco were the dominant population.
Right.
What happened? How did that happen? We need to really be paying attention to that other communities. For example, the Black community, 20 years ago, we were 18% here in San Francisco. Now we're like 3%. And so we're disappearing. And I just, that this is going to happen over and over and over again to Black and brown communities who are being marginalized and disenfranchised. So we have to, the way that we combat this is to educate and to organize. And like I said earlier, like Will here, having this podcast, having this space to be able to talk about these issues is very important, because right now we may be touching somebody's listening and hearing it, and they may be one of the future leaders that is going to come out into the community.
Right. And also, just to, I talk about police work, and people are probably like, what is she talking about? But I actually was a police aide for SFPD, for San Francisco Police Department, for like 2 years. And, as a female, I was in there. It wasn't my goal. I didn't study that for my undergrad. I didn't study that for my school. So it wasn't something I was interested in. But I know that as a Polynesian, my feeling towards community was so large, in a sense that honestly, I got it from my mom's brother. He was an Army vet, and he was in the Army for about 25 years. He was a sergeant. And him and a couple other people that he knew that were Polynesian, also just knowing and observing our men in our community, just like, and in just Black and brown communities in general, like there's just so many other avenues. And I think that the creation of more programs in creating those avenues for our community and for other, of course, all other minoritized communities, especially our Black brothers. You feel me? Like
But
it's this real thing.
Monica,
Yes.
while you were in the police department, how many officers did you see that looked like you?
None whatsoever.
I work in the
But-
health department. And one of my previous workers, unfortunately, he passed away from COVID, and he
That's right.
was of Samoan descent.
Yes.
But what I wanted to say was, when I look around, even my department,
Mm.
I'm like, why don't I see more people who are PI in the department? That's why when I lost Ludwig and he passed away, I really wanted to replace him with somebody from that culture, that
Yes.
community. And so I found Monica. I mean, she was qualified, don't get me wrong, but I really wanted to do that, because I look around and I don't understand, in the public health system, why don't I see people from the PI community being represented there in those fields of nursing, of being in the medical fields, of even the positions that support the medical, like you may be an eligibility front desk. I don't see that when I go to UCSF. I don't see. I might see maybe one, maybe two, if I'm lucky. But it's like, why are they invisible? We have to bring them out. We have to reach back, because that community, the PI community, has been made invisible here in San Francisco. And this is like one of the main places where people from the islands were coming here to.
Right.
And I remember growing up in South City, and what would I see? A lot of if they weren't playing football, the men, they were working at the airport unloading the bags.
Yeah.
But I never saw them like being able to integrate into mainstream, being police officers. Like I said, I know that there are doctors and nurses, but they're so far and few between. And this is the place, this is the hub after you leave the Pacific Islands. They come here.
Yeah.
But yet I have not seen people be able to really fully integrate and have access the same way as some other cultures.
It is a deep disparity that, like, I know will, you understand as well as myself, that we actually endure, and from a personal experience, I think that the illusion of the ability to not understand our positionality in the U.S., right? For the most part, when you talk to Polynesians and South Pacific Islanders, right, what they will tell you about oppression is that they're not a part of it. Okay, and that in itself is a lie, and it needs to stop. It doesn't empower you to feel this way. It is a delusion. It's an illusion from what is actually real and what is not real. And I know this because I see it, because I've been a part of it, and because I've been exposed to, finding myself and then finding people like Cheryl that has actually given me a better knowledge, right? And the school can give you this and give you that, but experience will give you everything. Yes, a school will give you a diploma, right? But the truth is in the job field, if you want to make a good living, if you want to find out who you are, you have to do this on your own. But you also have to figure out what makes you comfortable. I figured out that public health is something I wanted to do, and that's what made me feel comfortable. And the aspect in the journey of that I went through PD. I worked with the police department. It was community based. I knew I wanted to do something community based, and then once I did that, I had still stayed with the nonprofit that I'm still with to this day. I won't leave it. But that's because I don't even feel like it's work. So, you also have to figure it out. Like, what do you feel isn't work? And if you don't feel like that's work, then that's something you should be doing, And to be honest, I mean, it's just about asking yourself questions. And that's why I always say that asking questions and being curious and always just being, very objective about anything that you approach in life is so important, because it's going to help you not only in your future but in your health future, because as me and Will have said over and over again, we are dying at a very young age, and it's not getting any older.
Yeah.
It's just getting younger.
Okay. All right. So I think we pretty much covered that entire topic thoroughly.
Yeah.
You guys brought it tonight.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think we've come to the end, and man, sure, it's only an hour and a half, and you just dropped everything in this hour and a half.
Everything.
Well, the last thing I want to say is this. I would like to see more teachers from the PI community.
Yes.
I would like to see more police officers, doctors, nurses, social workers. We need social workers.
Right.
Yeah.
Because there's social problems.
Right.
And other people can't understand. The dominant culture can't always understand the disparities and what we're up against, the oppression.
Yeah.
And so think about those different careers and branching out, because, you can empower your community just through some of these careers. So City College, we're gonna be recruiting. I'm doing some work up there at City College, but it's free for all San Franciscans. They will meet you where you are. School is for you. Take some ethnic study classes to get started, something that interests you.
Get empowered.
But get empowered. Like, yes, because we are supposed to be a multicultural city. And I want to walk around this city and see people of all races, creeds, and colors having successful, safe and well-off communities that allow their children to thrive. And the only way we're going to stop school closures and things like that is to get into these different professions and hold people accountable and better our communities, make them stronger.
Okay. All right. So thank you so much, Cheryl and Monica. Thank you for the great breakdown. And this is actually a great topic to discuss. I know on Fridays we talk about different topics, but this is such a good topic, that especially for Pacific Islanders living in San Francisco. All right.
Amen.
But nevertheless, appreciate you guys watching right now, all the live viewers. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I appreciate you guys for watching. And don't forget to, I just pinned my locals account on the live chat on YouTube. So if you want to support me on there, see some content that exclusive only to locals, you can click on that link and support the channel. But nevertheless, shout out to everybody, and shout out to Cheryl and Monica.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Cheryl, thank you for making the time to be part of this. And of course, if you guys, anybody, if you're Pacific Islander, or if you're living in San Francisco and you're part of the people that's affected by District 10, and you want to ask more information about a lot of the programs or the things that they were talking about, definitely reach out to me, and I can definitely I'll give you the contact info for Monica and Cheryl.
Well, Cheryl, do you want to share out your contacts for anybody? If not, that's okay.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, Cheryl Thornton at sbcglobal.net. Please feel free to email me.
Mhm.
I'm open to all communities, and I definitely like to work with communities that have been marginalized.
I just want to say thank you so much, Cheryl, for joining us today. Like this has just been like the highlight of my entire year. Because I know this is not something that you would do ever,
crazy,
so I just want to say thank you so much. And you are just a light in everybody's door. So thank you very much.
One
Yeah.
thing I love about social media and content creation is once we complete this episode, right,
Mhm.
then it's going to be in the internet forever.
Yeah.
So you drop so much knowledge, and it's such inspiring to hear the experience and the work that you do, that your kids and your great grandkids and your great kids can always come back to this video and watch you, right? Talk about the things that you're passionate about, the work that you do, and it's forever here. So
Thank you.
so it's gonna be cool.
thank you for
Your
doing
kids can
this.
watch this, but then when you pass on and your great grandkids, oh, let me go watch my great grandma on this podcast.
Yeah.
And they can watch you speak and they see everything and talk about and get to listen to you talk about everything that you're passionate about and the work that you do.
Yeah.
So
No, I honestly would be sharing this. So say less.
This is great. I mean,
I will
thank
be
you,
sharing
Will,
this for everybody.
this podcast in this space. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's important to educate the community about what's going on.
yeah,
Because this is community enrichment. I know that doesn't seem like it because folks that are online are dealing with a lot of different types of things, but this is a structural process.
Mm.
So if you are, it's because you're part of a structural process that comes, and we have to look at it from a deeper lens. And if you have more questions, well, you can always check out Cheryl's contacts or Dalama. This is my, nonprofit. So Dalama for Times.
and it definitely is not gonna be the last podcast we do with Cheryl, and we definitely get maybe one next time get Cheryl to taste at least one drop of Kava.
Cheryl, I get it. If you want to.
I'll get Cheryl at least one time, to get taste.
I'll make sure I have a driver.
Just one drop, it doesn't have to be the full cup, but
Well, I'm definitely open to trying new things,
yeah.
and I can't wait. I'm going to be going to Tonga with Monica.
We are doing this.
Oh,
We're
yeah?
gonna go next year. That's what we're doing.
Yeah.
Oh, then save your Kava drink until when you get to Tonga.
Oh Lord.
Okay.
We can't do anything over there.
Oh,
I'm just
okay.
kidding. We can if you want.
Yeah, you don't have to drive. You can just walk. In
3
Tonga, you
weeks
just walk
on the
everywhere.
island. I won't want to come back.
Oh man. Yeah, no, we were definitely doing that. Like, wow, it's funny because we're definitely doing that. Bump that.
But as always, everybody that's watching, thank you so much for always supporting our show. Tapping into our Friday night Pacific Islander show. And of course, don't forget to like and subscribe. And don't forget to tune in tomorrow for all the single people out there. We have the dating and relationship podcast for tomorrow. But I'll see you guys next time. And then when we go live next time on Friday, we have a different topic to discuss. But you guys all have a great night. Appreciate your support. And see you guys next time. Peace, y'all.
Bye.
Bye.